You said you were expecting to have a target on your back, but the intensity of some of it. Did you see the questions about your past positions from the perspective of race being as relevant as they are?
No, and I don't think they're relevant because they're taken out of context. What I didn't see is people who know me. I mean, they know me well. It's not like it's somebody who just came out of the blue, didn't know anything. But it's so easy to go back 30, 40, 50 years and take a context and take it completely out of context. And I mean, you know, I get all this information about other people's past and what they've done and not done. And, you know, I'm just not going to go there. If we keep doing that, I mean, well, we should be debating what we do from here. For example, this whole thing about race and busing. Well, you know, I think if you take a look, our positions aren't any different, as we're finding out.
With Senator Harris, who said she sees it as a tool, not a must in all circumstances.
Yeah, well, look at my record.
But I don't think busing is about policy, Mr. Vice President.
No, it's not.
I think it was about principle. When you look back at your record on it, you were not in favor of busing. It was a different time. There were different applications. Why not just own it and say,
here's the thing,
I was against it, but now I've changed?
I was in favor of busing that was de jure busing. That is, if a court ruled that there was a law passed or circumstance that a county, a city, a state did that prevented black folks from being somewhere, then that's wrong. You should bus. I even went so far in the middle of that busing controversy was saying I use helicopters if that was necessary to make the point. And we really got in a town meeting that got very hot. But what the issue is now is, for example, and it was then, voluntary busing. We supported it. We supported it then. And by the way, Barack and I, as president and vice president, we provided money for voluntary busing if cities want to do it.
I'm not questioning any of that. I'm
No.
saying that when you look back in the 70s, you said, I think busing doesn't work. It's an asinine concept.
Well, by the way,
you tried to pass bills that weren't for it.
Busing did not work. You had overwhelming response from the African-American community in my state. My state is the 8th largest black population in the country as a percent of population. They did not support it. They did not support it. Look, the question is, how do you equalize education in every area? And I put forward the most aggressive plan to do that, and I've been pushing it for a long time. For example, in Title I schools at disadvantage. I propose we go from $15 billion a year to $45 billion a year. We should bring people in, have preschool from 3, 4, 5 years old before kindergarten. We should have, look, every child out there is capable, but they live in circumstances that make it difficult. For the time they get to school, they've heard 3, 4 million fewer words spoken. They're at a disadvantage.
I totally accept all of that.
But that's number one. But number two, the idea right now, 65 out of 100 jobs in a study I did for the president point out you need something beyond a high school degree.
It's true.
So what are we doing? We're sitting around here as if it's an insoluble problem.
I get it on the policy. I never have viewed the busing back and forth in that debate as about policy or application of how to affect civil rights. It's about consistency and proving if you'll be better than what we're dealing with now in the White House, which is people won't tell the truth about things. If busing didn't work, then it made sense that you weren't for it back then. But why say you were for it? Why not just be straight about it and move on?
Because there's 3 different pieces. I was for voluntary busing. Number one, I was for busing where the court showed that, in fact, a legislative body took an action preventing black folks from going to a school. That is de jure, I know you know, de jure segregation. The difficult piece is, this is 50 years ago, people don't understand the context. The third one is, do you have an administration through their non-elected officials, the Department of Housing, decide every school should be equally balanced across the board? That's a different issue. And the way to deal with that problem is what I did from the time I was a kid. I got out of law school, came back, had a great job, became a public defender. I fought for putting housing in low-income housing in suburbia. I talked about eliminating redlining. I talked about school districts should be consolidated in ways that made sense. So, in fact...
Why didn't you fight it like this in the debate?
In 30 seconds?
Hey, what happens most in a debate, Mr. Vice President? People blow their time cue. You're the only person I've ever seen on a debate stage say, I'm out of time.
Well, we never had a place where you have 30 seconds, man. What I didn't want to do is get in that scrum. Do you think the American public looked at that debate, take me out of it, and thought, boy, I really like the way that's being conducted. They're really showing themselves to do really well. Come on, man.
But they're going to come after you.
Sure, they're going to come after
Were
me.
you prepared for them to come after you?
I was prepared for them to come after me, but I wasn't prepared for the person coming at me the way she came out. She knew Bo. She knows me. But here's the deal. What I do know, and it's the good and the bad news, the American people think they know me, and they know me. Since that occurred, I had the most sought-after endorsement for the mayor of Atlanta, a black woman who's a great leader, Mayor Bottoms, endorsement. I've had numerous members of the Black Caucus endorsement.
You worried about the poll slippage with African Americans after the debate?
No. These folks just came. I'm making the point to you. I don't see it. People know who I am. I don't believe there's anybody out there believes that I have anything other than a keen and consistent interest in making sure every child has. These are all our children.
Here's the question. Did you rewatch the debate?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Well, I didn't have an opportunity to rewatch it. And besides, my measure is how people react outside, getting on a train, getting on a plane, walking through an airport, walking in a parade, just going to the grocery store. I got no sense. I really mean it. No sense.
Here's the tough question for Democrats. They need a warrior, okay? Because not to aggrandize, not to lionize, but this president knows how to fight in the ring one-on-one. Kamala Harris is friendly fire. Cory Booker is friendly fire. How can Democrats have confidence that you can take on the biggest and the baddest when you're having trouble sparring in party?
I don't think I'm having trouble sparring. It's how you want to spar. Look, I'm the guy at the time everybody talks about things that are changed. I took on same-sex marriage. I took on a whole range of issues. I took on arms control. I took on dealing with Russia with the arms control agreement. I took on Putin in terms of in terms of what was going on in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. I've taken on these leaders around the world. I'm the guy that's gone in and met them. I've taken on all these leaders. This is ironic. I've never been accused of not being able to spar. I've been accused of being too aggressive.
But the game has changed.
Well,
and you think that what's happening with Harris is anything compared to what would happen with you and this president?
No, but everybody knows who this guy is. Come on, man. Come on.
How do you beat him?
I beat him by just pointing out who I am and who he is and what we're for and what he's against. This guy is a divider in chief. This guy is acting with racist policies. This guy is moving to just foment hate, to split. That's the only way he can sustain himself.
Nothing about him worries you?
Oh, yeah, well, sure it worries me in the sense that I'm looking forward to this, man. You walk behind me in a debate. Come here, man. No, you know me too well. I mean, the idea that I'd be intimidated by Donald Trump, he's the bully that I knew my whole life. He's the bully that I've always stood up to. He's the bully I used to make fun when I was a kid in a stutter and I smacked him in the mouth. Look, this is not, but I think the American people want a president who has some dignity, who has a value set, who is actually trying to restore the soul of this country. So when they turn on the television, they look up and their kids say, I want to be like that guy or that woman.